Okay, so today we're going to talk about the immigrants are eating the dogs.
Oh no.
They're eating the dogs. Now look, man.
And we'll talk about crowd size.
My question, which nothing about that statement should be anything more than just laughed at. Because it's funny. And he's funny. But whether he actually believed it to be true, whether or not it actually is in any way, shape, or form actually true, it would be so minimal like that we can't even actually find any evidence. No factual evidence. There was one woman who got arrested one night in Canton, Ohio, recently. Was not an immigrant. She'd lived there her whole life, and she had eaten a dead cat.
Well, and let's not just talk about Trump, because Trump isn't the only one that is spreading this.
Yeah, Vance.
J.D.
Got that
Vance,
from J.D.
yes.
Vance. Vance is just weird, man.
And J.D.
I don't know what's
Vance
wrong with
is
that
the
dude.
senator from Ohio. So you call up your senator when you're missing your dog or your cat, and you tell him, I am missing my cat, instead of the President of the United States.
I got to straighten my hat.
Oh, my God.
Well, I say what Brian Tyler Cohen said. Hey, why don't we just pump the brakes a little bit here? Who gives a rat's behind? Seriously, this is what we're making the news about. Well, like, is there any other laid out plans? You know, potential proposed bills or executive orders other than Trump's exotic work that he talks about that he's going to do day one. Well, that has come to light.
No, his campaign is mostly about retribution.
Yeah, well, that is true. And in the eyes of his listening, in the eyes of those just listening to him objectively, it's what it does come off as. That's all he cares about.
Well, and he's petty. So, like, when she told him about crowd size, and Obama did this whole thing with his hands.
And it made a big joke
of the debate, and it aggravates him. Yes, it aggravates him. And I understand that, but they're over there saying he's the best candidate, most presidential, and she shouldn't be able to bait him as easily as she is.
Well, I don't think it even really matters whether she baited him on something so petty or not. Either way, I mean, he's a clown. Everybody already knows he's a clown. Not in a bad way. I mean, he's just a showman. That's what he does. He's gonna, if he finds something that can make some people laugh, he's gonna hammer that nail until it's all the way through the board. It's gonna come out the other end. He's gonna nail it through another board. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's just like, dude, that's what he does. Why do we expect anything different? So why are we still talking about it?
Because he's running for president.
That shouldn't matter. Should have no bearing on whether or not he is any more capable of running the country than Kamala Harris is. Which also is very strange that they're in some polls. Nobody can truly know for sure, but they're saying they're pretty much neck and neck tied.
Well, they were going to be tied. You got more. You got young people, white women, suburban women, and women of color, all saying, "Oh no, my daughter's not having a miscarriage in a red state, and not getting treatment."
Right, but
and Ken Paxton, the AG, is trying to pass an interstate law that we can't leave the state if your daughter is ill, or if you're going to have a miscarriage, you can't go to another state and have a procedure. It's not an abortion if it's a miscarriage. It's already gone. The president.
Trump's already said that he believes in the 3 exemptions. So does Abbott. So.
Well, but that's not what the law is, and that's not what's happening to women in Texas.
So then that's the issue. The issue is not the law. It's not what Abbott wants to do. It's what the law actually says. It doesn't matter what Trump wants to do. What matters is what does it actually say. What is C-SPAN going to show what they're voting on whenever they post it on the website?
Well, the Texas legislature is all Republican. So They should be able to pass that as soon as they go back into Congress. This is the hill that they are going to die on.
Well, I think they should
They
die
got
on
the
the
courts,
hill
they
where
don't need it.
they tried to cause it. They tried to make it harder for blacks, minorities, to vote
Oh, well, he's still
in
doing it.
densely populated areas in Texas and Georgia. The other states were mentioned. We listened to Senator, what's his name again?
Cory Booker from New Jersey.
Cory Booker ripped it.
It was 2 years ago, actually.
Yeah, actually 2 years ago he reminded us.
It was a voting bill that they had passed all in 2020 after Trump said he lost.
2022.
He didn't lose the election, and there was all kinds of voter fraud that they investigated for
Right.
almost 3.5 years, and they didn't find but one lady that voted that thought she was eligible to vote.
Right, so in other words, the factual evidence was not there to support the theories or the accusations. Anyways, so, but what I want to know is, now 2 years later from whenever, what's his name again?
Cory Booker.
Cory Booker ripped Congress a new a-hole, Republican side especially, for their targeting of minorities and minority voters, hardships, basically making it harder for them, less polls open, polls, longer lines, where there are much more densely populated areas, and there should be more polls there rather than where they're putting them, which are predominantly white neighborhoods. So 2 years later, here we are, 2024.
And we still got no voting rights bill, and we got states still passing crazy ass
The 19 states.
voting laws. Well, Florida is like sending the police to your house.
What?
Yes, it's different. Anyways, Florida is always different. The Florida guy.
Well, Florida's been pretty corrupt, backward style forever.
Yes, and Ron DeSantis is already Trump's enemy, so we don't really have to worry about talking about him. I ain't gonna get in no trouble about old Ron.
I don't think we're gonna get in any, but I don't think anybody could get in any trouble anymore talking about anybody. That's all this politics is, and that's what I wanted to bring awareness to about today. Is my concern with the facts versus the misinformation, disinformation, and malinformation, which is the only three types of information other than factual information that we're getting on every media outlet, every online freaking YouTube channel, everything. It's all just misinformation, malinformation, or disinformation. That's pissing me off.
Look at Bella.
I had a hard time going to actually find facts that any of this stuff, that the thousands of media outlets that you could look it up online to find out, or the mainstream, to dig through to even find any truth or any kind of factual information about any of it. You know how long it took me? It took me like 20, 30 clicks deep, man. That's a lot. That's deep. Like, you shouldn't have to go to a foreign nation's news media outlet to actually see the research and proof posted for everyone to see. So this is what they're arguing about over here in America.
Well, investigative reporting
Stupid
is
crap.
dumb. Your old-time newspaper don't have the resources to send out investigative reporters, and they don't care to. They just want to sell ads.
We're being programmed in our, what do you call it? Subconscious programming. PsyOps has been around forever. They're still doing it. 20 clicks deep just to get a fact is ridiculous, because you have to filter through the propaganda and bull crap that he said, she said, everything is just a bitch session is all it is. They're all talking about somebody else, and that's all it is. Any of it is anymore. That's all you'll ever find, unless you actually do some investigating, reporting yourself. It's ridiculous.
It is. Although Trey got upset with me because I was watching the argument between Laura Loomer and MTG. But the only reason why is because MTG affects policy. And she wants to shut down the government. And she has a lot of sway with the Speaker of the House because she got Kevin McCarthy fired. So, I just want to make sure that what's going on. Is they're having infighting, and I think personally that it's that you don't get to bask in Donald Trump's company all the time if you got a job as a congresswoman in Washington, D.C., because he no longer is in Washington, D.C. Yes, you had a seat at his table when he was president of the United States, but...
And I think this is all dog and pony shows of distraction. Hey, look over here. Hey, look over here. Hey, look at all this stupid shit. That's all it is. It's a waste of your brain retention space. Seriously, that's all that they're doing, is purposely distracting us. What are they distracting us from?
Well, Trump has distracted us from his lack of policies.
I don't know, he's pretty direct on what he says. He still says some
he's
pretty
going to mass deport citizens
stuff.
of the United States.
He's laid them out, some major extreme policies that he is very direct on, hasn't changed on, and has been consistently saying this is what he's going to do. This is what's going to happen. That we're a failing nation.
Yes, and it's kind of dystopian the way that Trump thinks about the country.
Yeah. I'm starting to wonder about, I don't know, everything. Really, but Trump, I still ain't convinced one way or another of where his morals are. Where is his heart in all of this? That's just because that no one knows a man's heart but the man himself. Who can know the mind of the Lord except for the Spirit of the Lord? So how can any of us say what his actual intentions are? He can say anything all day long. So can Kamala, so can anybody else. But what are they going to do, and what have they done, and what will they do next? Factual information, not hearsay, not he said, she said, or this is my opinion of why that this was done. No, but this is what they actually did. This is what they didn't do. Or we don't know because they never will bring them to court. Or, but are we asking the right questions to the right people?
Well, nobody asks the right questions anymore. It is punditry. That's all the news is. It's not, nobody goes and fact checks anybody, and it is all about the most wild statement you can make. And that's why they had bomb threats. No, but even with the news media, like, we watched Anna Navarro really lay out this guy about the immigrants and that label being put on them. And he was like, oh, well, if you talk about, how it affects the health of a neighborhood. Well, no, it's made up, more than likely. We can't find any proof that it happened. But it is affecting communities right now where people are threatening their lives and their children.
And nobody should be calling anybody racist at this point. What they need to be calling them on is their stupidity of what they're saying. It's so stupid.
Well, it used to be Korean people. They just move it around. It used to be Italians back in the day.
Like, what is wrong with these people? Like, and then the first thing that everybody wants to call them is racist. Who gives a rat's ass if they're racist? If they're that stupid, why are you listening to them to begin with? How do they even have a voice? Why is there any more clicks for anything that they're putting out there? But that's what I want to know.
The people that like extreme Trump have a little bit different place that they want us to go to. It's more like white nationalism.
So we need to be aware of what's really going on and what are we paying attention to, because when we're paying our attention to something, we're giving it power.
Well, Donald Trump is like a train wreck. And luckily for us, his train wreck is not as shocking or entertaining as it was before, so that you can actually see more of his personality.
He's losing his sizzle.
So you can see more of his personality, and you can also...
It's kind of dull.
Well, he's
getting kind different. Of a broken record now.
Yes, well, he has a lot of complaints.
Well, not really. I mean, he's been saying the same stuff over and over and over and over so much now that it's like you can't even ask him a question about anything, because you're just going to get an answer that he's already given 30 times on every major and minor news outlet there is.
And if you hurt his feelings by telling the truth, like about polls or anything,
well, nobody
he will call you out.
You can. There's thousands of polls out there, and you could use any of them to prove anything that you want. Literally. So you cannot use polls as any kind of factual evidence.
I am going to recommend a great debater, and that is TYT's Rashad Ritchie, Dr. Rashad Ritchie. He always brings where he got it, what it is, and when it was done. Never leaves those facts out of his conversation because he's got people yelling at him, talking over him,
oh yeah,
arguing with him the whole time. And
if you bring facts, I'll listen to you.
Yeah, it's just the facts, Jay.
Yeah, I don't care about your opinions. I don't care about theories. I don't care about he said, she said. I don't care about racist or not. What I care about facts. What are they doing? What have they done? And what will they do?
Well, and Donald Trump has an agenda. It's not his agenda, but it is his backers' agenda. And that Project 2025 is a little scary. But because if you're a veteran, they're going to cut you off too. I mean, I just worry about the effects of this extreme because they're going to cut the Department of Education. They're going to cut veterans' benefits. They're going to cut all of this stuff. And I just worry, what are we going to have left? We have paid taxes. I've paid taxes for almost 40 years of my life.
Oh, I agree. That's why I'm starting to watch C-SPAN. Everybody needs to start watching C-SPAN. Every time there is a congressional hearing, every time there is a vote, their proposed bill, anything, we need to be all up on C-SPAN or any other live coverage of congressional actual hearings, congressional sessions, voting sessions in our states and local and our federal level. I do want to close with this one statement that Martin Luther King quoted, and let me see. Oh, I'm sorry. He quoted, and he was actually quoting from what was his name? Theodore.
Douglas.
No, not Frederick Douglass, although Frederick Douglass did quote it as well. But Theodore Parker. Theodore Parker in the 1850s. He said, "I do not pretend to understand the moral universe. The arc is a long one. My eye reaches but little ways. I cannot calculate the curve and complete the figure by experience of sight. I can divine it by conscience. And from what I see, I am sure it bends toward justice."
But if you have a lot of corruption in your politics, say in general, because I think there's corruption all over the place up there, not just one side or the other, it tends to bend slower. Like your rod, your honesty tends to melt that bend a little bit slower than...
What is justice?
Well, I believe standing up, honoring your contract with the American citizen is probably justice.
Well, you're talking about specific, but the quote that I was trying to say was, morally, the justice will be brought. That means good and bad justice. Do you understand that? As a nation, our moral integrity is in question right now. Better believe it, more than ever. And we are going to pay the piper one way or another if we don't fix it. So that's all I'm saying.
Well, and pressure your congresswoman or your senator to pass voting rights laws and corruption laws.
Yeah, pressure senators, pressure our House of Representatives. Pressure. Get to know them. Call them. Leave messages on their answering services.
Don't Twitter them because it kind of gets you.
Yeah, just get to try, man, be all up in their face, man. Find out who they are, what they're about, what they're going to do, what they plan on doing.
And what they actually do.
Ask them questions. Man, let's get out there and do our own
and I want to set one date for Trey because he doesn't believe me, but Trump already called to shut down the government on September 30th. What do you want to lay out?
What do you mean?
Do the GOP fall in line and shut down the government over...
What do I think should happen?
what do you think is going to happen? I already know
Oh.
what should happen. They shouldn't shut down the government. Nobody gets paid.
And there ain't no telling what's going to happen.
Border
Nothing surprises
security,
me anymore.
FBI, nobody gets paid. The only people that get paid are those senators and congressmen that are shutting down the government.
If they shut it down, and if they don't, either way, we as American citizens lose because,
We've already paid the money.
well, no, it's not about the money. It's about the laws that they're passing, the resolutions that they're passing. What's in the resolutions is where we lose. That's why they can't come to a resolution, because every side wants to throw in extreme crap. Both sides. Now, I will say it seems as though the Republicans now, more than ever, are looking on the moral lower ground. It's looking like they are not doing the right, what they backroom deals, if you will. That is what they're asking for does not seem right to me. My conscience, I can divine it by conscience, and I'm telling you, my conscience tells me they are not. They're doing it in our best interest.
Well, and see, on the other side, the Republicans are holding you up, too, because you need 10 to pass a bill. So you need...
You're talking about Senate versus House.
Yes, but you need bipartisan structure, because the Senate is supposed to be the cooling thing where all the heat from the 435 goes to simmer, they temper the law, then they send it back, and it goes through a process.
And then the president has a chance to veto it.
Yes, and then he can send it back, and they can, whatever. But Joe Biden is pretty bipartisan on most issues.
Seems like.
Well, he was in the Senate for 50
ever.
years.
Oh, yeah. That's true.
And he's always been bipartisan. It's funny, though, a lot of GOP talk about him being ungodly or whatever, but he is a religious man that goes to church every Sunday.
That don't much.
No, but I mean, he actually goes to church. He believes in God. He has faith. He talks about God.
I say, man, you got to show me. Anybody can say it until you live in it. And it's not just. Nah, never mind. Don't get me started on that.
Well, he's actually had a lot of heartache and tragedy in his life. It probably has.
Are we still talking about Joe Biden?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, it's 23 minutes in, so.
Let's quit.
Okay.
Bye. September 30th.